Hi folks, in today's tech tip, I wanted to talk to you briefly about incognito windows. An incognito window is essentially a way of opening the Chrome web browser, but kind of sort of semi-anonymously. And I want to maybe try and clarify what I mean by semi-anonymously later on. The main reasons I find this useful as a teacher are that sometimes I want to be able to sign into a Google service with a different Google account, like for example, a test pupil account to just check how something works. Or maybe a different Google, like school Google account. For example, our digital learning team has its own Google account. So sometimes I want to sign into that Google Drive rather than my own one. And I don't want to have to keep signing out of my own drive and back in again. And the other reason it's really useful is if we are sharing a link with people who are outside our domain, so that's people who don't have a sterlingschools.net Google account, and we want to make sure that they can actually access that item we're sending to them without being signed into a Google account. So basically, how you create a new incognito window is quite straightforward. Up at the top here, we use our wee three dots, and then we can just click New Incognito Window, or you'll see there's a shortcut, Control-Shift-N. And when it opens that window, you'll see that that's actually opened up as a separate window down here. So that's our main Google Chrome browser window that we have open, and it's opened a separate one. And up here you'll see it says incognito, and down here it tells us Chrome won't save the following: your browsing history, cookies and site data, information it informs. Your activity might still be visible to pages you visit, your employer or school, and your internet service provider. So I guess it's important to kind of understand there that actually, although some things are not being recorded, like if you go to YouTube and watch videos, it's not going to add the things you watch to the kind of algorithm that suggests things in future. But your school or your organization and your internet service provider can actually still see what sites you've visited. So it's not completely anonymous. It just kind of dissociates your Google account from what you're doing. So anyway, the point I was getting at was this allows us to sign into services with a different account simultaneously to being signed in with our main Google account. So I'll just illustrate what I mean by that. If I use a test pupil account, there we go. Sign in, and it will probably come up with a CAPTCHA after I've put in my password. Sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. Hasn't done it this time. We can see that I'm now, if I look at the little icon here, signed in as test to pupil. And if I switch over to my main Google Chrome window, I'm still signed in over here as Mr. Scott as my own user account. So that would in principle allow me to go into the same classroom at the same time as a teacher and a pupil, and I could try things out if I was wanting to just experiment and see how something worked, to see how it would look from a pupil perspective. Likewise, if I wanted to use the digital learning team Google account and sign into that drive without having to sign out my own account, it's really handy because it allows you to just open this extra window that you're signing with a different account. So that's one of the main reasons I find it useful. I'm going to close it and I'll show you the other reason. So if we go here and open a new incognito window again, what I'm going to show you is that we can use that to check if a link that we've created will be visible or accessible to somebody outside our domain. So if we click on this, this is just a blank Google form I've created. So imagine I was going to share that with people. I'm going to share the link to that. Now, if I shared that to somebody who is signed in with a Google account, you'll see that that opens up fine. It lets them complete the form. But if I go to that incognito tab here and paste that in, you'll see that it's saying that they have to sign in to be able to access it. And that's because this account is not signed in as a Google account. And so it's letting me know that either if I do want a link to be a secure link, that I've shared it so it can only be viewed by people with a Sterling Schools email address, that confirms to me that it's secure. Or if I wanted to share something, say, with parents that don't have a Sterling Schools email address, it also lets me know that they can't access it. And I would need to go back here and I would need to change the permissions in my form. So for example, if I went into my settings here, I'd want to go into restrict to users in Sterling Council Education and uncheck that. And having done so, let's now save that change. I should find, without having to create a new link, that if I try that in my incognito, now it works. So it's a really useful way for testing a couple of different things out. There are other uses of incognito windows. We'll not get into that because I think these are the two main ones as a teacher that you'd find useful.